sticking around, guys. I got the opportunity to interview Ron Charles, who is the co-author of The Islander's Guide to Mysterious Papishow. So let's check it out on everything he has to say about it. Good morning, beautiful people. I am joined here with Ron Charles, who is a co-author at Hardback Publishing. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Very good to see all the people enjoying the Creole Festival celebrations. It's awesome.
Right. So could you tell us a little bit more about Hardback Publishing?
So Hardback Publishing started during the pandemic. Towards the end of the pandemic, myself and two friends who are now my business partners, Jean Thomas, my co-author, and Luke Khan, who's our graphic design partner, deals with everything related to the physical appearance of any products that we put out, as well as of our marketing material. We decided to come together and work on a project while a lot of persons had downtime. During the pandemic, work wasn't as, hectic as it is normally. So we kind of came together to put something that was sort of a passion project for the three of us, and just wanted to put something out into the world that we could call our own. And yeah, that's pretty much how we came together and what we've been working on.
Well, seeing that all of you all love books and love everything about books, how did your passion stem from? How did you originate, if you will?
So I grew up reading a lot of novels. I wasn't one of those kids who was very much into toys too much when I was, I'd say from the time I could read, maybe about 7 or 8 years. My mom used to buy me these little puffin novels. So it's like abridged versions of very grand books. So I'd read a lot of those throughout the years, and I had a hunger for it. I always wanted to read more and more. And as I grew up, I studied literature in school. Actually, looking back, probably not the smartest idea, but I did literature at SAFA. So literature in English, and I think I did pretty well at it. It gave me a great appreciation, not just for reading, but also for appreciating writing styles, the way different authors kind of make you feel emotions. And it instilled something in me where I said, maybe one day I can try that. And the opportunity came around, so I decided to, and I think that we did well. We've gotten some great feedback, and just want to share it with as many people as possible.
All right. So have you published a book as yet?
Yes. So coming out of the pandemic, actually, I guess the pandemic was pretty much over, but our first project was released in May of this year, May 2022. We released our book called The Islander's Guide to Mysterious Papishow. The title is something that's very Caribbean. It's something that if you're a person from the Caribbean, it will strike you immediately, and that's one of the things we were going for. We wanted to make a book that really captured Caribbean culture, the essence of it stemming from the folklore, the people, the locales, and just the general vibe of being a person or experiencing Caribbean. In addition to that, we also wanted to make it something that we could have a greater influence on the culture with, in terms of bringing some of the folklore stories that we were told in our youth by older generations. If you go around a solo, you would find a lot of the older folks telling stories, stories that are rooted in the culture. And I think a lot of young people today don't get to enjoy that. They don't get to hear those type of stories. Or at least they don't get it in a digestible way. One of the major things being a language barrier. I'm not sure what the statistics are, but throughout the years we've noticed that a lot fewer young children know the Creole language. So if you go to a Creole festival and someone's telling a story, a deep, rich story with folklore and culture ingrained in there, a lot of kids, they want to listen because they don't understand it. So we wanted to capture a lot of those stories, a lot of the essence of that culture in our book, and make it accessible to as many people as possible, thinking not only in terms of people in the country who don't have access to these stories or don't have persons who know these stories to pass down to them, but also making it available to a wider society on the whole. So making Caribbean culture accessible to people who don't know anything about the Caribbean. pretty much. So in that sense, we wrote it so that it can be a great point of entry for someone who doesn't necessarily have that background. But also, if you are familiar with a lot of the concepts, you'll find something to enjoy there as well. So that was our aim, and from the feedback we've got a lot of good feedback from the older folks who read, some of the younger persons as well, who have an emotional reaction to a lot of these stories, or who had some inkling of the concepts, but right now they're getting to see it play out in a really, not necessarily realistic way, but a way that they can relate to.
Seeing that I am one of those young people who do not understand Creole, and I do not get exposed to a lot of those folklore, I know it is a lot to see so many people not knowing the Creole language and just seeing it die out in front of us, because a lot of people do not know the culture behind everything. That's why I like to call myself a fake Lucian sometimes, because although I have the citizenship, I don't have that much culture in me. So in the book, is there Creole parts, or is everything in English?
So we're not trying to stay to any one island. We want to make it a Caribbean book. So we can't have the Caribbean without Martinique, for instance. So we have stories set in Martinique where most of the dialogue is in French. Again, we're not trying to make it inaccessible for anyone, so we have the translations in there. Creole as well in our story set in St. Lucia, where you would find a lot of, not just Creole, but there's enough Creole that you can have an appreciation for what is being said, and also the Lucian slang. So the dialects is something we wanted to capture as well, to make it sound and feel while you're reading that this is something that can actually happen in the country that it's set in. So we've taken all of that into consideration. You can get some Creole, you'll get a few phrases that you can throw around and impress your friends. French also. But as much as possible, we wanted to make this something familiar to people from the Caribbean, and from all the feedback, we've captured a lot of that essence in this book.
Well, I appreciate it not only for myself, but for all my brothers and sisters who do not know the language, even though they're in Martinique, St. Vincent, all around the Caribbean. At least you made it all inclusive for every last one of us. And again, I want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to learn a little bit more about our culture. Now, for the people at home, could you tell us where we can find you and how we can get our hands on that book?
So we're bringing down stock locally for persons who are interested in buying. If you'd like to request a copy, we have a website set up. It's www.hardbackpublishing.com. We're also available on Instagram at Hardback Publishing, and on Twitter at HB Publishers, Facebook, Hardback Publishing also. So you can find us on any social media. Just reach out to us, let us know if you're interested in getting a copy. We're very happy to deliver a copy to wherever you need it delivered. We're working on getting it in some bookstores, but that's a little bit difficult just because there aren't that many around now. But we're going to make it available to anyone who's interested. Just reach out to us. We're very happy to get it into your hands. The book locally costs 55 EC. If you wish, you can also purchase it on Amazon. That link is also on our website. If you would like the Kindle version, it sells for $2.99 US, so a very low point of entry there. If you're interested in getting the physical copy, it retails for $14.99 US on Amazon.com.
All right. So guys, go out, get your hands on a copy, because I know I am dying to find out what interesting folklore is in store. Now, I would like to say another thank you for giving me your time, and you guys stay right where you are, because we'll be right back.